Well, it's been 3 days, almost 10 hours worth of content, over 15 different segments produced in that time. All of those segments are going to be available to everyone who has registered at sportstream.us. It will be available on demand as well. So if you missed any of the segments over the last 3 days, please don't worry. We'll give you an opportunity to do that. I invited Gary, James, and myself, Jim, back here on the set to help answer any questions that have come up along the way. I want to start with a few questions that came up earlier in the week, and then we'll give our audience today an opportunity to ask any questions as well. So if you do have questions available, we have Adam at the production system monitoring those. He can send them in as they come in. But let's start with an interesting question that came while I was live on the first day talking about getting started in sports production. A great question was, how is live sports production and most of the content that we talked about this week different and the same as esports production? I talked a lot about it. Gary, I'd like you to weigh in on it.
The biggest thing about it is esports, the athletes are on a single screen, which is whoever people are playing with, be it Call of Duty or the Justice League of America, whatever it is. So from a camera production point of view, it's actually tremendously easier. I need a still camera or one PTZ camera that's focused on the different players who are sitting still and doing their thing. I need a camera that's got the output where everyone's looking at the same camera and it should be on a feed that's a bigger feed. Now, what's interesting is some people will try to get like the behind the player thing. So you see the player looking at his screen while he's doing stuff.
Right.
That, when you want to do that, is very cool, but it adds a whole different level of complexity because you can't have it distracting. You got to make sure your angles and everything's working when you're seeing the same stuff. So I've seen sometimes they'll put if it's 4 players, a quad split, and you'll see all 4 facing the monitor they're facing with what they're doing with their hands and stuff, versus trying to have the big screen and then a player on an inside in the look. The other thing is the players talk a lot with each other, so the audio is very different. Whereas in a live sport, usually there's an announcer or someone telling you where the game is. Really, in the esports, the announcer's job really is after the session's done. The players fill enough color. Now, high school, be careful, because sometimes the stuff that these players say isn't necessarily good for all ages and stuff like that. And I know there's warnings on that. You have to have someone typically on a live stream on a hot button because people do tend to say something wrong. But It's a very cool thing and it's a lot of fun. But the thing that is the same is the action time has still got to be there. You got to be able to switch cameras and follow the action and hit buttons, and it's a lot of muscle memory. Instant replay doesn't really happen like in a sporting event, but the games themselves allow you to do replays and relooks after the session is over. So it's cool. It's a lot of fun. It's very different. What I also find about it that's really tough is that's when the esports are all playing in the same room.
Right.
Now let's say I got a team of 4 people, and I'm in New York, and I'm playing a team of 4 people in Minnesota against another team that's in Florida. Now it gets a lot more complex. When you get into something like that, that's a whole nother story. That's for a whole nother show. And if we really want to learn about that, there's a guy over at New Tech, Chris, who really is in on this stuff. And they've got people in different e-game studios with TriCasters in each one, creating just what I described, but I'm not gonna. That's kind of. I'm not gonna say it's above my pay grade, but I'm not comfortable walking people through how you do that. It's a little bit more complex with mix minus and a whole lot of audio video syncing tricks.
I would definitely agree with that. I would think that also with we talked a lot about NDI the past couple of days, and one great thing about NDI is you can get NDI tools, and the easiest way to get the screen capture from your players on 100%. All of their individual computers is just a free tool. It's called NDI Screen Capture. That's actually how we're getting our PowerPoint presentation and our videos to show up in this box here. And you can just do that with all 8 of your computers to get them the screens as sources on your network. And that's where the M4250s would come back into play too.
Great first question.
And the other thing I'll add too is I think from a sports production point of view, everyone is trying to emulate a style that was created and popularized by ESPN, by Monday Night Football, by Fox Sports. There has not been that universally accepted broadcast of the esports arena just yet.
Right.
So everyone is still trying to figure that out. So it's one of those things that is like, be careful what you wish for. If you're one of those creative dudes that getting into this space, this could be a great opportunity to kind of do it the way you want to do it, right?
And I'll add one more thing. esports, the weather's always nice. When you're doing real sports and you're out there, sometimes you get rain, sometimes you get wind, sometimes you get lightning, sometimes you get the sun goes down, the sun goes behind a cloud. There's things that happen with a sport that's outdoors producing it that you can control those elements completely in an esports environment.
Absolutely. Another question that came in when we had David join us talking about the Canon PTZ cameras. One of the things that is often overlooked when we talk about the different PTZ cameras, the camera optics, we always talk about the robotic control. But his question very specifically was, what controller do we recommend with the Canon CRN 300 was the example he used.
So when we were live with that, I had mentioned that Canon has two controllers. They have the RC IP100 and they have the RC IP1000. In the video that David was using to do the live color matching demo, he was demoing using the RC IP1000, which is really a coloring powerhouse of a controller, whereas the RC IP100 can also do coloring, but it's a much simpler controller.
It's really a PTZ controller.
Right. It's mostly for your pan, tilt, and zoom. So if you're only going to be using 2 to 3 cameras and you just need to do your camera movements, the RC IP100 is totally fine for the CRN 300. I would say once you get over 3, 4, 5 cameras, that's when you want to go to the RC IP1000 so you can get the multi-viewer preview screens on the controller. And then also it has an HDMI output so you can put that preview screen on a bigger monitor, whereas the RC IP100 can't do that. The other follow-up question was somebody was asking if you can save the color settings from one camera and copy and paste them to another camera. And David didn't say that in the video, but yes, with the RC IP1000, you can do that. You can save presets, not only save presets, but you can copy and paste them to multiple cameras on your network right away, from also PTZ cameras to their XF605 with the XC protocol. And then also you can save those presets. So if you know that you're going to be using those cameras in a specific venue, but it's not a permanent thing and you want to save those color settings for that venue, you can. And then next time you go to that venue, just recall those color settings and then copy and paste them onto all of your cameras in your network. So absolutely something that you can do with the RC IP1000.
Now, James, that was a very recent update to that controller,
yes.
right?
This just happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we were researching it when the question came in, and that's why if you do have questions, send them into the team at sales@videoguys.com. We don't profess that we know the answer to everything, but we know enough people in the industry, as you can see from the roster that we had hosted here this week. We know who to reach out to. We know how to get you the answers. One of the reasons that there was so much confusion about whether the IP1000 could do that is because it was a brand new feature released in the firmware just a few weeks ago.
Yep, brand new.
Yeah, that's one of the things you're going to see with a lot of the products that we talk about now, especially that we're in an IP world, and that is the products released with a list of features. Hopefully all those features are there at release. Sometimes a couple are missing. And they add the ones that are missing, and then sometimes they unleash a whole other set of features that makes you say, wow, this product's even better than what I bought. And that's very interesting and very cool in our industry right now. Stuff is becoming better, not obsolete.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then the other popular question that usually comes up anytime we host a show like this is always related to specific workflows. Gary, I know you're a big baseball fan. You can talk a lot about camera placement and different production considerations in the world of baseball, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other sports, and I love it when we're always throwing other sports out there. We had a customer tune in and ask about track and field. Okay, so now track and field, a whole other production challenge, but very similar to horse racing, very similar to automotive racing. You basically put an oval out there and you're going to have different
For the track part.
Right.
The field part, not always the same.
Exactly. And I know my son did track and field. And sometimes they would do the field events before the track, and sometimes they would run them concurrent.
Right.
It all depended on the venue, the size of the venue, how many people were there, and quite honestly, how much sunset was left in the evening before we had to get the kids off the field. So those are all considerations that you're going to have to bring in. How many cameras are you going to do? When you start this conversation, one of the most important questions to ask, and it really is a tough question, is what is the budget? I know it's difficult because everyone wants to hear how much money do I need? But really, when you start to really investigate what the budget is, it tells you, are you shopping for a Honda or are you shopping for a Mercedes? Right?
Yeah, that's a great part. Let's just give the example of a track. You could set up 4 PTZ cameras around the track and have kids either running to and then past, or running to and then handing off to the next camera.
Right.
But you really do need 4. So if you want to cover that whole track for the whole race because you've got some distance running and other things like that, you may have to compromise and get 4 less expensive cameras rather than 2 really great ones. So that's a really great point. And of course, with the field stuff, that tends to be not as PTZ camera friendly. I'm going to say you probably want a handheld person down where those events are, because some of those events have safety issues where you just can't be standing in certain spots.
Is that
Hey, there's a javelin.
and that's the thing too. In the field events, you can have something that takes up a very small part of the field.
Yep.
Or then you can take the shot put throw or the javelin throw. It's going to be a much different, very significant area that you need to cover throughout those events. So it's really making sure that you're going to be able to bring the audience the footage that they need to see. And it might be even a 2-camera shoot, one at the start, one at the end.
And I'm going to add, for my oval, I probably want a 5th camera, because I probably want a camera straight across the finish line, hoping for that photo finish that I can put in the slow motion to really show what a great job I did, with the camera stuff. So track and field, great sports, great stuff like that. You really got to think about where your layout is on that.
And one of the things that we talk about the broadcast standards, if you look at the way the Olympics were broadcasting, they literally had hundreds of cameras set up throughout these venues.
Yep.
But when you're watching it on TV, you're not seeing hundreds of cameras at a time. Take a look at the way they're covering the events and try to emulate what you're seeing, and how can you do that and identify those different challenges along the way.
Absolutely. And if you're doing it in a school, like a high school setting, it's a great homework assignment to give the kids that say, go watch these the films of the Olympics or whatever it was, then come back and try to figure out where the camera placement was and where we were. Because remember, like football games is my favorite example. They use a ton of cameras in the NFL for a football game, but it's really 5 or 6 that are used for 80-90% of the production. And they go to the other ones and they get those great shots that you can't live without. Right. But those cameras aren't really engaged except for when that time is right, which is one of the reasons why when we talked about sports throughout, it's really good to have like someone who's a technical director or producer who's really watching over all the thing with all those camera angles, because it's really easy for the person who's mixing, if you're in a TriCast or a VMix, to miss that camera because it happens so fast. Whereas the guy who's really in the know can say, get camera 6. We got to go to camera 6.
We kind of talked about that a lot yesterday, actually, where, it's great that all of these systems are becoming turnkey production systems, but also then being able to separate your graphics and your instant replay so they can really focus on just that aspect of it. And exactly, having a technical director that is just looking at all of the camera angles and calling which camera to pull. If you have the staff to do that, it's going to, again, take your production to 10, 11, 12.
So let's remember, in an educational setting, that means more kids get involved in producing the show, which I really love, which we talk about more cameras, but more cameras also means a technical director and other people can be involved. So if you had, let's say, 5 or 6 let's say you had 5 cameras in a shoot, 3 of them were PTZ, 2 of them were cameramen. I'm still going to need 3 or 4 other kids actively participating in that production. So I think that's so important. It's not just that you produce the sports so you can show your audience the sports, but in a high school or college setting, give those students the opportunity to learn a very valuable marketable skill, which is knowing how to actually create and produce the content that is a sport.
So while you guys are talking, we had a private question sent in over Crowdcast.
Cool.
Asking about NDI technology. James, I'm going to ask you this one because the question is, how easy or difficult is it to set up the NDI network?
It's extremely easy, especially with, again, if you're looking at any PTC camera on the market right now is pretty much plug and play. And even updating the camera is pretty much plug and play. It used to be, even last year, you may have to do a 2-step USB and IP to do an update on your camera. That's no longer the case. Most cameras on the market, you connect it to your network switch, ideally an M4250, and you're able to instantly access the web GUI to be able to do the update and now see the camera on your network. Specifically, and again, we talked about this yesterday, using the M4250s because they have presets for different versions of NDI, but not only NDI, but also mixing your Dante audio into your production system as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to caution here is a lot of people have a lot bigger, more expensive switches at their facility, especially in like a college, as an example, or in a stadium.
Minor league venues, stuff like that.
Right. The problem is they're not optimized for video production. So what happens is they're optimized for whatever the packet switching was for the whole enterprise, for the school district, for the school. We really want specific settings for video and for NDI. So the Netgear switch, the beauty of that is I don't have to have an engineer configure it for me. The Netgear switch, when you were talking about plug and play, is the easiest other part of that. Setting up the switch is so easy. So if you're going to go NDI, strongly recommend you get a Netgear AV switch to build it around. And then the other part about it is it really is that easy if you start with the right core switch.
Absolutely. And when you're considering these switches, you want to consider the number of inputs for all your sources. You want to consider the NDI technology. You also want to consider the power delivery. Total power delivery from your switch is going to let you keep that single Cat6 cable running to each of your sources and making sure that you're supplying power that each of those cameras need.
Yeah, I'm glad you said Cat6 because we used to say Cat5 and they'll still do the job. But I'm a firm believer in this day and age, it's going to cost you, pennies more per foot.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Get Cat6, do it right.
Absolutely. And the thing that we've talked about too is with the Canon outdoor cameras, the Panasonic outdoor cameras, the Bird Door cameras. Some of these cameras require more power consumption on those lines. So you want to look at what you're speccing out in the venue, in your production, and then make sure that you get the switch that properly supports
100%. Good point, Jim. Good point.
We had one question come in about what devices to use to incorporate scoreboard information to your graphics and production.
Okay, so let me repeat the question because I know it came in from the production team, just in case it didn't come over air. What devices should a customer use to incorporate sports scoreboards into their graphics, into their production? Obviously, a huge element in the sports world.
Right. A lot of scoreboards, if you buy one now, actually have a network jack, and they'll send that information over IP that you can bring it into your mixer or what have you. And then there's a whole variety, and I wish I had the list handy because I should have anticipated this question of third-party people who make little boxes that'll just basically take the output of the serial or HDMI output of the scoreboard. They'll digitize it, and they'll have it flow in. It can flow in through NDI or through IP. And then there's other vision-based systems where you show a camera at the scoreboard, and it just translates it and brings it in. So there's lots of different ways to do it.
And James, I know you talked a little bit about this on yesterday's show. Incorporating the sports, a lot of these score feeds and the devices you talked about, like Scorebot is one. A lot of these days, what they will do is send you an HTML5 data feed. And then there are products like New Blue Captivate and Flowix that will take those feeds and incorporate it into their nice template.
LiveView Studio.
And LiveView Studio, absolutely. And LiveView Studio not only does it through their own platform, but they also incorporate Flowix and use other HTML feeds too.
HTML5 graphic system can be used with LiveView Studio.
So there are a ton of tools out there. I think the biggest thing to realize when we talk about that technology, the scoreboards themselves have become much smarter in being able to send that technology out onto the network and able to send that feed into a universal format that a lot of these different systems can take.
Absolutely.
And then the systems themselves have become much more agile in understanding and accepting that information and incorporating it into your production.
It's only going to get easier.
Absolutely.
And one thing that I think I would just like to add is if your scoreboard doesn't have this integration, a lot of the times a production system where you do still have to manually type it in will have hotkeys for 1 point, 3 points, foul, whatever needs to be incorporated.
Yeah, like the little YOLO box.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. The YOLO Box Ultra as a companion that is the YOLO deck, and you can set that to be able to quickly hit +3 and add it to one team score.
Excellent. Adam, we have any more questions coming over there on the production side? Guys, we must have done a great job presenting the information. Just a few questions today.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to take a moment now and announce some of our winners.
Well, before you do that, I just want to give kudos to the whole production team. We got James, we got Adam, Jen with the graphics, you guys, Jim, you oversaw it. Jamie did the social media. The marketing team really kicked butt on this. It was phenomenal. And, I'm going to say it was a touchdown. It was a grand slam. It was a knockout. It was a hole in one. Use any sports term you want. You guys killed it. So great job. And I'm going to step aside so that you can call off the winners, guys. But kudos to the team, man. Great job.
Excellent, excellent. Great job. And now one of the most exciting parts of the event is we get to announce our lucky winners. First and foremost, every single person who registered for the event is going to get a complimentary digital subscription to Videomaker Magazine. Videomaker Magazine is a great resource for checking out the latest products and technology available in the industry today. They're always profiling the latest new cameras out on the market, technology from live production and streaming, PTZ cameras, and more. So congratulations, you're all winners. Next, I want to talk about some of the featured winners. First, with the winners who have received a certified TriCaster Vector operator exam. Now you can access VizRT University and get a complimentary exam to become a TriCaster Vector certified operator. TriCaster Vector does carry over to all TriCaster live production systems. It is a great bullet point to add to your resume. So congratulations to James, Lucas, Russell, Clinton, and Nikki. Our team will be in touch with you to get you your certificate to register with Viz University. We have another giveaway to Viz University, and this is for the 3Play operation exam. 3Play is VizRT's sports production system, and it can be used in conjunction with stuff like the TriCaster and their live production gear. Our winners for the 3Play operation exam include Adam, Ernest, Ray, Larry, and Stu, right here from New York. Congratulations to all of those winners. Again, our team will be getting in touch with you to get you that certificate for Viz University. We have a great prize given to us by LiveView, including a $50 Visa gift card and LiveView swag bag. They're going to put together a nice package for Tyler K from Nebraska. Congratulations, Tyler. We will be in touch for you to be able to claim that prize, and you can go out there and spend the $50 on a sporting event in your neighborhood. Next, I want to announce our prize pack winner from Bird Dog. Again, a Bird Dog swag bag and $50 Visa gift card goes to Tom from Lee's Summit, Missouri. And last, another winner from a $100 Videoguys gift card, and we'll get some stuff out to Chris A. in Marietta, Georgia. Congratulations, Chris, and all of our winners. You can view all the content that you saw this week at sportstream.us. If you have any questions on your specific workflow, please give us a call at Videoguys at 800-323-2325. We're happy to help answer any of your questions or refer you to one of the great system integrators that we deal with throughout the country. We know that sports venues, sports production can get very detailed very quickly, and working with a local integrator in your area is the easiest way to get that system spec'd out for your venue exactly as it needs to be, especially if we're talking a baseball stadium. They don't even have a consistent outfield wall. We can make sure we get you the right equipment set up and we get the right team to be able to service and support all of your production gear. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, cheers.